Hey everyone, my name is April. Welcome back to Atypical Understanding, where we dive into the things that make us and others tick. We share our journeys and what we are going through and what we are learning about how to improve our lives and make our lives better, and how we're working to become the change that we want to see and have the impact that we crave. Today's video is about anger and how to get started using our anger to improve our life. The first part of this video is really important, so I encourage you to watch the video that I posted before this. So far I've done 4 videos for this channel and they've all been on this similar topic. I'm kind of building on it bit by bit. So please watch that video if you have not seen it yet. I don't think it would be productive to go over what was covered last time again, but it really does go deeper into the purpose and the reasoning of working on these words and the way that we are today. But what we're trying to accomplish in this video is defining the remaining words of the emotions wheel that were not covered in the last video, so that we can strengthen our relationship with these emotions and we can improve our emotional literacy and really get it to the level that it needs to be to help us to excel. So I'm going to jump right in and pick up where we left off. Aggressive is marked by combative readiness. It's marked by obtrusive energy and self-assertiveness, marked by forceful energy. It really implies a disposition to dominate, often in disregard of others' rights, or in a determined and energetic pursuit of one's ends. I would say aggressive has a bit of a scale to it. Combative readiness, which implies that someone is really ready to fight and leaning a bit more towards hostile. But then you also have obtrusive energy, self-assertive. In that case, maybe the person is just a bit more high energy and overbearing, but not necessarily coming from a need to dominate. So what are your thoughts? Do you often identify as aggressive? And when you do you tend to lean more towards, is it coming from a more hostile place or more of a kind of an accidental overbearingness? Provoked is to stir up purposefully. Provoked implies a stimulus of some kind. So I feel like I would be most likely to identify with feeling provoked due to circumstances with other people. For example, arguing with my child. Someone is really stirring your pot. Maybe you're being mistreated, or maybe you're misinterpreting an action or the words of someone else. So if you're feeling provoked, I think it would be very important to figure out the cause and then try to determine the reality of the situation. Are you feeling oversensitive to someone, or is someone purposefully trying to draw a reaction from you? Hostile is defined as opposition, intimidating, antagonistic, offensive nature, and friendly. Unfriendly really helps set this one apart for me. Just a good general sense of surliness, which means menacing, threatening, instead of in opposition with someone. It is like a fierce opposition, willing to take it up a notch. You're willing to get aggressive possibly, but not there yet maybe. I identified with feeling hostile one day when someone in my family was really forcing their viewpoints onto me. And in that case, I started to feel very unfriendly. The unfriendly part really stood out because our opposition had obviously crossed a line with me, and I was not feeling good towards that person anymore. I think that hostile could be used to describe a lot of tense internet communication. Maybe because people are anonymous-ish, so there's no real friendship to feel or no real relationship to feel. And then because the person and their reactions aren't visible to you, so the empathy level is lower. And those factors really escalate a lot of internet communication into hostile territory as opposed to just disagreeing. The next word is frustrated. This is like my #1 emotion over the last couple of years. I've really been working on several goals that have just been so slow moving, and they've just had numerous roadblocks, setbacks, detours, and it's so frustrated. So I pick this one a lot when I'm doing my own emotion work. And it's actually perfect, defining it, seeing that frustration, the definition is feeling discouragement, anger, and annoyance because of unresolved problems or unfulfilled goals, desires or needs, having ambition that is not realized. I mean, nothing says frustration like striving to reach a goal and being unable to accomplish it. I'm willing to bet that last year was really, really frustrating for most people, considering the shutdowns, the slowness, or the impossibility of accomplishing things that COVID added to many people's lives. It was very frustrating for a lot of people, especially a lot of goal-oriented people. I was engaged in many conversations last year with people who were just angry and depressed. And I would guess that anger, fear, sadness, those were on the top for emotional states at various points last year. But I could see frustration really being a contributing factor. It's one of the emotions on the wheel that I could also place under sadness, because I mean, how sad do we get when we have setbacks that keep us from reaching a goal? Humans love goals. I mean, maybe not everyone, but it's a topic that I would really like to spend some more time exploring. How goals impact us, I think, is very interesting. The next word is infuriated. To make furious. Furious was on the last list in the last video, but just to refresh, furious, that's intense. It's proceeding from anger. It's giving a stormy or turbulent appearance. It's marked by noise, excitement, or activity. That's a really good description of what furious feels like. I always feel like furious is the angry waves. Annoyed. Feeling or showing angry irritation. So let's look at annoy for this. To disturb or irritate by repeated acts, to harass, especially by brief attacks. I really like that definition better. As soon as I saw the word annoyed, I associated with the buzzing fly. And in reality, that's kind of perfect, because it may seem like you're being subjected to something pretty mundane or insignificant, but it's the harassing element. It's the confrontation of the trigger, but it's the harassing element, the continuation of the trigger or the treatment or the situation that starts to really get you angry. This is the problem in a lot of relationships, because it's something that just keeps coming up, and it's the repetition that becomes the problem. Distant. Away. I'm having a hard time with this to anger right off. To me, distance is what happens after the anger when you feel separated from a person, or you may feel the need to be physically separated. Yeah, for me, I don't think that I can really relate distance more to... Yeah, for me, I think that I would probably relate distant more to sadness. What do you guys think? I'm not really connecting with this one for anger at all. Like, I'm not even able to relate it right now. Withdrawn is removed from immediate contact or easy approach. This one feels a bit more sad to me again than angry. I can at least with this one think that sometimes we withdraw from people because we're angry at them, the silent treatment, or maybe just trying to like protect ourselves until we can calm ourselves down. Yeah, I'm struggling with that. Numb, also, once again, unable to think, feel, or react normally because of something that shocks you or upsets you. So yeah, I can kind of see numb, feeling like in shock. Sometimes when you're angry, you're in shock. Yeah, that's another one that feels more sad to me. What do you all think? Can you relate those to anger? Can you give me some examples so that maybe I can kind of understand those better? But I'm just really unable to at the moment in a way that feels like useful to anyone. Critical, inclined to criticize severely or unfavorably. I want to see critic on this one, to see the merits, and here we go, this is better, to see the merits and demerits and judge accordingly. So to find fault with or point out the faults of. I like this one. I think that it's one of the ones that can really help us decode a situation. How many times have we caught ourselves really being overcritical of someone or something? I feel like the vast majority of people are prone to being critical. It's such a telling emotion. So next time you find yourself criticizing someone or something, start asking yourself questions about that person, that thing, that situation, behavior, what's upsetting you there. And unlike the last three, I really do see how this one relates to anger, because oftentimes you will find that the object of your criticism is evoking your anger somehow. Maybe by being annoying, maybe you're jealous, maybe you are frustrated and that person is kind of enjoying what you want. Maybe it is your boss and you feel mistreated. But instead of getting to the bottom of what the critical mentality is trying to tell us, we often stop, because the act of criticizing someone or something can start to relieve some of that emotional tension. So in the moment, at least, we feel a bit of relief. So don't stop there. Next time, dig deeper. And I think that's where the real gold is. So go below criticism. Why am I criticizing? Skeptical, an attitude of doubt or disposition of incredulity, either in general or toward a particular object. Incredulous is unwilling to admit or accept what is offered as true. There we go. So sometimes you got to look up more than just the original definition. Sometimes you might need a little more. If it's a word like incredulous, you don't use all that often. Sometimes it helps to kind of go a little bit deeper. This one relates strongly to critical, especially in the type of info that it can help us uncover. Usually when we are feeling large amounts of skepticism towards something, that's a good clue that we should look into what's behind it. Obviously, if there's a stranger on the street trying to sell you something that's kind of scammy, or we might feel underlying anger at being swindled. The vaccination issues come up. I feel there's a lot of anger related to skepticism surrounding that issue. Religion, non-religion, science in general, politics certainly fall into this category. So these are really big examples of, skepticism. A small example may be your child telling you that they don't have homework. I feel skepticism is a good indicator of a lack of trust and some anger at the offending party for causing you some kind of hurt in the past or potentially causing you harm in the future. It is certainly wise to understand where your skepticism comes from. You may decide you need to keep it, but you may also decide that it's time to move on from some grudge that you're holding on to that's no longer, even pertinent or relative or helpful to your life. Dismissive is serving to dismiss or reject someone or something, having or showing a disdainful attitude towards someone or something regarded as unworthy of serious attention. Dismissive. Feeling dismissive and anger. Yeah, like you don't like what someone's saying, so you just outright reject it because they're unworthy of. Yeah, that's an interesting one. So I think it would be very useful to you there if you're feeling dismissive of something would be to check the credentials there. Really question, are you being dismissive because you didn't like what they were saying? Or are you being dismissive because they really don't? Like a good example would be like an internet troll, telling you something about your life. And you're just like, okay, yeah, shoo fly, don't bother me. That would be a good time to be dismissive. But then if someone who really truly cares about you and they're telling you something and they have a pretty good track record of telling you things that turn out to be correct, maybe you're being dismissive of them and it's not good. So I think a good thing to question there is, what's the track record of this person? Should you maybe pay a little bit more attention to what they're saying? Or, maybe you should ask a therapist about it, or look a little more into it, or should you be in a place of like, I'm just going to move on from this because what you're saying is not helpful. Distrust. So to have no trust or confidence in, both of these kind of fall under skepticism. So the approach is the same. Once again, just weighing your levels. Okay, so I'm going to stop with the anger words now, and I want to move on. Just as a reminder, the 3 lists that I'm working from here are the Jeffrey Roberts Emotions Wheel, an emotions wheel from Dr. Albert Wong, which is an extension of that list, and a list from the Center for Nonviolent Communication. I have found that this approach of really breaking down the words helps me a lot to get in touch with the emotion and really understand what that emotion is trying to tell me. Let me know if you have an approach. I would really like to explore lots of different ways of going about this. So thank you so much for stopping by and checking out the video. Please let me know your thoughts, especially how you relate to some of these emotions and how you work your way through them. And yeah, thanks so much, and I will see you again in the next one. Bye!